All right, here we are, Game 3, the final game of this qualifier for the NA region for MDL Macau. We take a look. First game went the way of DC, second game went the way of VGJ.Storm, and right on into this draft. Beastmaster, Tiny, and Bane banned out by VGJ.Storm, Winter Wyvern, Omni Knight, Puck by DC. But they start their draft off the same as the first game with Shadow Demon and Slardar, while VGJ.Storm, they go to the Night Stalker. And this time, they go to the Wisp.
So I think the big difference between this game and game 1 and 2 is that the Wisp, the IO actually made it through. So Stanking, obviously a very capable IO player, they decide to first phase that. DC actually, as you said, go with the same opener. VGJ.Storm, they actually have quite a strong opener themselves. I mean, you don't always see like the impact of the Night Stalker directly translate to kills and team fights, but you know the amount of vision control that hero provides you, just like it psychologically, it makes the enemy team play a little bit more differently, especially when you're reliant on when you're reliant on initiations to win your team fights. So like last game, DC, they had the Slardar Sand King. These aren't like huge team fight stunts, they're like opening stunts. And you know, they couldn't, I feel like DC felt like they couldn't ever take the fight that they wanted. And I think part of the reason was because of that Night Stalker in the game. So VGJ.Storm, they opened with Night Stalker, and then I think for like the mid game, that Night Stalker is going to be looking to set up kills for the IO relocate ganks later on.
So Mirana banned out. Medusa, Queen of Pain banned out. That Mirana again, not making it to the second phase after the Shadow Demon Slardar pick. But what I am noticing is Lifestealer has made it into this second phase of picks, and they go back to the Death Prophet again for DC.
DC, they picked the Death Prophet. They also, interestingly enough, the Puck is banned this time. So the Puck appeared in game 1 and 2, and I think the team with the Puck won both games. So Puck, obviously a very valued hero in this series. And actually, you mentioned that the Lifestealer made it through. I wouldn't be surprised if DC pick it. I think it works really well for their lineup. I think Death Prophet and Lifestealer kind of complement each other. You know, Lifestealer is one of the burstiest heroes in the game. He's quite difficult to kill and makes for somewhat of a good initiation and frontliner for the Death Prophet. So VGJ.Storm definitely have to be worried about that. I don't think VGJ.Storm should go as far as to pick it for themselves because they still need an initiator like Sand King.
So now you've got the Sand King, the Night Stalker, and Night Stalker, Sand King do work well together. We'll see if this is a core Sand King like it was for DC when they got it for MSS. Do you think that maybe Sand King was kind of a deny pick from DC, considering that they're going with a similar lineup?
No, I think VGJ.Storm are solely looking for an initiator for their team, and I think Sand King obviously works well for that. I mean, other options are like Earthshaker and Legion Commander in the offlane position, and probably some other heroes from there. But I think they were just looking for an initiator. And DC, they can actually go one of two routes right now. I mean, whenever you play against an IO, there's like two things you can do. Either you try to split push the IO, so you pick heroes like Naga, Weaver, maybe not Nature's Prophet, but like Puck and like heroes that can split push without dying, or you pick heroes that kind of win the early game and continue to plow towers, because you know IO's weakness is not exactly team fighting, but IO's weakness is just not being able to help out too much in these early engagements, unless of course you have the right heroes. So DC can pick a hero like perhaps Tidehunter or another offlaner that helps them sort of push without having too much to worry about.
So let's see what they want to go with coming into this fourth pick. My choice is Lifestealer. We'll have to see if DC are thinking the same, and if DC don't pick the Lifestealer, could they go with it for VGJ.Storm? You know, they don't have the Tiny available, and sometimes you see more of Wisp with like a Sven or a CK when they don't have Tiny.
So there's the Tidehunter pick. So I want to say that DC shouldn't have fourth picked the Lifestealer there, just because they have not seen two of the cores from VGJ.Storm, right? And Lifestealer gets countered like relatively easily. Like there's a lot of heroes that so you don't really want to fourth pick him, especially when VGJ.Storm have two of their core picks available. Whereas a pick like Tidehunter is super stable for the DC lineup. It helps them, like it complements their lineup perfectly. Like it gives them a frontliner, which Death Prophet always needs a frontliner, right? You don't want your Death Prophet to be the first one getting jumped on. And that also fixes their team fight, and it gives them sort of an anti-relocate mechanic, right? Like the IO relocates in, gets instantly ravaged, and then the fight's over. Whereas if they pick the lifestealer there, VGJ.Storm can kind of play around that, and I think VGJ.Storm would have benefited a lot from not having a Tidehunter in that game. So if Tidehunter wasn't 4th picked, and a lifestealer was 4th picked, I would definitely ban Tidehunter if I was VGJ.Storm.
So they do go Storm. Safe laner still available. I assume the VGJ.Storm ban has to be that anti-mage.
I don't think so. I don't think DC pick an anti-mage here. I think it's too slow of a hero for the DC line. I think what DC needs is something that helps them in the early to mid game, especially against Storm Spirit. I mean, you think that anti-mage is normally good against Storm, but you know VGJ.Storm actually have a lot of disables for the anti-mage, at least until the anti-mage picks up a Manta, and like the rest of his team is configured for sort of tower pushing and early game aggression. So like they could pick an anti-mage, but that does mean that DC are kind of committing to a late game scenario. But it's kind of problematic because AM's ability to split push is kind of hindered by the Night Stalker. It's hindered by relocate ganks.
And actually during darkness, that's where anti-mage is going to be most susceptible, especially before that Manta with the crippling fear of Night Stalker. So maybe anti-mage would be a terrible pick and a terrible prediction by myself.
I mean, DC is also the kind of team that likes to play around timings. You'll always see them make moves around siege creeps around the 5-minute mark, or even earlier than that. And I think AM's is just too slow of a hero for the kind of game that they're looking for. I keep saying that, but if DC picks anti-mage here, I'm gonna eat my words.
And I'll be so happy. Get myself a nice prediction. I think it's, you know, either. Well, can they still go with the lifestealer here? It really
I think
depends
both
on
teams.
Last pick.
Well, both teams can actually use a lifestealer pretty well this game. I think lifestealer's quite good against the DC lineup because you get to dodge the ravage and dodge the Slardar stun. But DC they also do well with the lifestealer because they have the Slardar for a vehicle, and it also makes their lineup extremely difficult to kill for Storm. I mean, lifestealer's not an easy kill for Storm, but you know it kind of goes both ways. And then if VGJ.Storm pick lifestealer, DC aren't exactly in a bad position either, because I think once you start picking up 4 staffs on like Shadow Demon, Sword, or Death Prophet, the game is kind of difficult for lifestealer. Looks like we won't see anti-mage at all.
Slark. So Slark, Storm, Sand King, Wisp, and Night Stalker. I was gonna say with the lifestealer, you infest. You could send 3 heroes on a relocate gank at one time.
You could.
That would have been a very interesting play.
You could, but I think you wouldn't, because you're just gonna get immediately stunned by Slardar Tidehunter. So I feel like this Slark pick is sort of a comfort pick for Ritsu. Obviously, I think it's a hero that he has a lot of familiarity with, and also, I'm wondering if they pick the Slark in sort of response to this Tidehunter, because I believe the Tidehunter doesn't want to trade hits when Slark has his pass available, but I don't think that's even the case, because I believe DC will again aggressive tri-lane. Obviously Slark, Io, Night Stalker, not the best. Or sorry, Snaking's on the Night Stalker, so it's Slark, Io, Sand King, not the best tri-lane against the Luna, Slardar, Shadow Demon. I mean, we saw that tri-lane do a lot in the bottom lane last game. Unfortunately, they didn't get enough, but we saw the kill potential that comes out of having a Shadow Demon Slardar support duo.
So Mason, MSS, Qualifier, Bulba, Demon with the Luna, Tidehunter, Death Prophet, Slardar, Shadow Demon for DC, and VGJ.Storm, Night Stalker, Wisp, Sand King, Storm Spirit, Slark, played by Snake King, Stand King, Flea, Ryoya and Ritsu. This always makes me confused when it's Stan King, Snake King, Sand King. And it's just all confusion for me.
Stan King's name is actually originally based off of Sand King. I think he had a friend that made his account name based off of Lashrak, so then Stan King wanted his own kind of hero / real name, so he decided on Stan King.
It's confusing for me.
He's not the Sand King player this game, so
I think he was
no
for
Stan King action here.
Or did they swap?
There's no way they swapped. I think Stan King's the only IO player on his team.
Prepare for battle.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll have to see how this laning phase goes for DC this game. I think I believe DC would have won last game if they completely shut down Ritsu, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And so Ritsu was able to sort of farm the entire game and split push and get a lot done. But this game, hopefully DC won't make the same mistake. It looks like they have 4 of their heroes bottom, so almost certainly going to be another aggressive tri-lane. And this time I don't think Ritsu's on a hero that can sort of fight back. I think Slark's like one of the worst heroes at level 1 engagements in terms of safe lane carries.
And he's in the trees right now. So we'll have to see if DC do catch him out. They are smoked up. And they do have enough catch to get a kill. A Disruption, Swithering Crush. And the damage from the Lunar Blessing on this Luna. Only 59 damage, but not terrible. You also have Qualifier here. So if they'd found anybody, it would have been First Blood again for DC. But unfortunately...
it's not just 59 damage on the Luna, right? It's like on all the heroes, so... Luna's that hero that helps your team trade more effectively.
And we're clear for running.
Koikva's not dying for a bounty rune in this game, so that's actually a big difference with this game compared to last game. Not walking into his death at level 1.
Yeah, that was really odd. He just kind of walked up the stairs over by his top bounty rune into 3 heroes by himself. He also started that game in the top lane, so now we're going to see him start it mid. And then over top is going to be actually MSS. So MSS is top with the Tide. And then bottom's going to be Mason again. So it is still that tri-lane. And it will be up against Snake King on the Sand King. And they've thrown Sark over top against the Tide Hunter.
They're going to try to kill him here, I think.
Now there's the Disruption. They're going to look for the Slithering Crush. But Burrow Strike right out of it. Snake King avoiding that aggressive play from this tri-lane.
It's a really difficult stun for Slardar to get off, and you see like Bulbo even positioned himself behind the Disruption, trying not to get hit by the Burrow Strike. But of course, I think Snake King was already facing the correct direction, which is towards his tower, so he didn't have to deal with turn rates on the Burrow Strike, which means that there's basically no chance that he gets stunned up there.
They're just looking to harass out Snake King. This opens up the lane where I would say Mason should have a better time this game than the second game. His lane looked good for the early starts of it, but then they did have the Morphling still keeping pace, and they are going to TP Bulba up top to help out MSS. So now the kill potential kind of seems gone over bottom.
The kill potential's gone, but Demons, like Snake King's probably not going to get a lot of last hits here, which is fine. I think Bulba... Like, even if Bulba was here, there's not much they can do to prevent Snake King from getting experience, because Snake King's going to keep pulling the lane back. He's going to be within EXP range almost all the time. So, pretty smart decision, I think, from DC to move the Slaughter up here, because you can put a lot more pressure on Ritsu than you can on Snake King in the bottom lane.
Yeah, so Stan King going to look to pull this, but not going to happen. Or he still might. Nope. Okay, come on over.
I mean, the problem with Luna is never like the Luna herself in the early game. It's her team and her support's ability to help her out, because she's such a squishy hero that we saw last game. Like Bulba and Demon kind of fed a couple of kills in the bottom lane, and then from then on, like the two supports weren't able to help Mason stay in the lane, which is why they got kicked out.
Look over mid. Storm Ryoya trying to run away. He's got the Spirit Siphon on him with a nicely placed Slithering Crush by Bulba. They're still trying to get the kill. The rotation over by Sand King. Now they might get first blood on Bulba. One more shot will do it. He's on the high ground trying to run. Guardian Sprint off cooldown, and now he's able to make enough space to survive.
Boots first slaughter. That was a really nice rotation from Stanking. The Storm is almost certainly dead there if not for that TP. So
I would say he's almost not needed anymore over top.
I mean, I think the Slark's gonna have a harder time in this lane because MSS is starting to pick up some levels, so that Anchor Smash is really difficult to deal with for Slark.
Snaking might be first blood, but there's the Void to slow him up. Now they turn their attention towards Flea. They don't have Disruption anymore. That was probably what started it between him and Snaking. Snaking surviving for now, and first blood's getting inches from being taken from either side. So
I think DC's getting a little bit more out of this early game because I think the Luna's able to farm this bottom lane, and Tidehunter is getting a lot out of top as well.
Bottom, another disruption coming through with the Soul Catcher. Snaking trying to run away, has Burrow Strike available, but there's the Lucent Beam still alive thanks to that stick. Burrow Strike to make space into Bulba, who can't line anything up. And he is still alive, one more shot from death.
It's a bit of an outplay by Snaking there. Manages to dodge the Slaughter stun. I think Bulba definitely should have stayed in the trees there. Bulba had the right idea. Like he can't let Snaking cast his stun, but didn't quite work out. Qualifier actually in a little bit of trouble here, or not.
Yeah, Flea was coming over, but now he changes his mind and heads over bottom. Gonna be 3 heroes here for VGJ.Storm. See if they can get the kill now that it's nighttime. They have Void, they have Hunter in the night, Crippling Fear, and they still have a skill point left on Flea. We'll see what he takes.
So the siege creep is spawning, but mid lane. Ryoya taking quite a bit of damage, but doesn't go down. DC's like
bottom as there's the Burrow Strike on the Mason trying to get the kill. The disruption comes through, and they're still chasing. They're still looking for the kill. Mason in a lot of trouble in these trees, and finally first blood goes the way of DC. Up top, you take a look. MSS gets one in return on Ritsu.
Uses the Ravage for that one. I feel like Demon should have waited a little bit longer for that disruption, so that VGJ.Storm had to tank the tower to wait for that the banish to end.
Burrow Strike again on the Mason. They look and maybe turn their attention towards Stand King. There's disruption. Ritsu coming over. That is gonna latch with the pounce. They'll get an easy kill on Demon. They sent Ritsu over bottom, and now it's just Mason, and this is a lot of trouble with Flea here with the Void. 4 heroes, Lucent Beam, nothing to follow it up just yet. Trying to get the kill on Stand King, but they'll take him out again. And 4 heroes come bottom to get the kill.
This is a little bit crazy from Demon there.
Ryoya
actually, Storm's
in a lot of trouble over top. He does not have level 6. No ball lightning. In comes the Wisp. That's going to be enough. MSS very low. He's got to start to run, and I don't think he's going to make it too far. Spirits are hitting. The Slithering Crush saves his life, but with Flea here with the Void, they'll get the kill. They'll get another one on Bulba. Things have kind of come off the rails for the side of DC.
plus VGJ.Storm, they have the siege creep bottom, so they're actually going to get this bottom tier 1, which is going to be really huge for them, because that frees up a little bit more of the map for Ritsu to farm, since Ritsu does need quite a bit of farm and levels after that top lane.
Crippling Fear.
So I think the big thing for DC right now is they're having the same problem they had last game, which is like Luna's not in the position she wants to be aggressive. I think in an ideal Luna game, you have those levels to get that Eclipse at a better time, so that you can help your team take a quick early tier 1 and 2, but instead, you know, it's VGJ.Storm that's in a position to push. They do have both the ultimates ready for DC in about a minute, so you know, DC might be able to make a move off of that. But until then, you know, VGJ.Storm, they're actually getting quite a bit out of this map, and really DC's playing against the timing of VGJ.Storm's heroes. I think both Slark and Storm are heroes that want to farm up like 1 or 2 items before they get involved.
Looking over bottom, Bulba just gonna pull these creeps, trying to get a little bit of push in on this bottom tier 1. But Ritsu's in a pretty easy spot right now in terms of just getting last hits and keeping this lane open for himself. I don't see him really being too susceptible to getting ganked unless there is a Ravage and possibly an Eclipse coming down.
I mean, them taking that tier 1 helps them a lot as well, because, you know, it makes it harder for DC to TP in to help anything out in this bottom lane. Mason's pretty much stuck jungling right now. Really scared of the aggression from VGJ.Storm, and Stan King's actually level 5, so he's on track to get his relocate at about 10 minutes.
Counts. What was that Dark Pact, and Arc is just gone already. Qualifier using that exorcism, cleaning up the creeps, probably going to work on this tower afterwards, trying to take at least a tier 1. They've got all 3 cores here to push. There's the glyph from both sides to keep this creeps alive for Dire, and for the Radiant just to keep the tower alive a little bit longer. But they're going to start to move over and work on the mid tier 1 themselves. So
like this is the kind of problem that DC have right now. Like they have 4 heroes parked bottom, 4 pretty big heroes, right? Whereas VGJ.Storm, they're actually farming 2 lanes of the map, and they just got the top tier 1 as well. So, you know, Snake King's farming up. Storm's has been able to farm up as well. So, you know, DC are just slowly losing a net worth advantage to VGJ.Storm. And so VGJ.Storm, they just have to continue the pace that they're having right now in order to win this game, because as soon as that Storm gets his Bloodstone, and as soon as Slark gets his Shadow Blade, it looks like he has a Midas queued up first, but as soon as Slark gets that Shadow Blade, it becomes extremely problematic for DC.
Now, oh, he actually switches from the Midas to the Shadow Blade. So I'm not even going to go for the Midas. I was going to ask, if he did go for that Midas, does that open up enough time for maybe DC to farm a little bit and start turning this in their favor? Because then he's got to go Midas, spend the money there, and then go for Shadow Blade. But going straight Shadow Blade, I feel like he has so much pickoff potential on this DC side.
Yeah, I mean, the Shadow Blade also helps him scout out enemy heroes for relocate ganks. It helps him split push. And, you know, VGJ, their lineup is kind of configured for split pushing. Not that they can't team fight, but they have 2 heroes that prefer to shove out lanes. You got the Storm, you have the Slark. And DC don't exactly have heroes that shove out lanes, right? Like, Luna doesn't want to do it until she has Manta. Especially when there's a risk of getting relocate ganked. Death Prophet doesn't shove out lanes either. Oh, bottom lane.
Yeah, here it is. That's an easy double kill for Ryoya and Stan King. They make the relocate over. And that was Snake King Burrow Strike on the Demon, looking for the epicenter, stopped by the Lucian Beam, and then all of a sudden, in came the relocate with the Storm. They got the easy 2 kills, cleaning up the core and the support of DC.
Yeah, I mean, that's precisely the scenario that I was kind of alluding to, but yeah, you never really want to be behind in net worth against an IO, because then you know, it makes the map really scary for you, because suddenly you can't really push out any of your lanes. Oh,
Qualifier over mid might be in a little bit of trouble there. Was the Electric Vortex to wrap him in, but they don't have enough damage to kill him just yet. And DC, they're already starting to back up. They've lost their tier 1s. There's not really much they can do in terms of pushing out too far safely. There's just so many options for VGJ.Storm, especially once that Slark does get his Shadow Blade. He's gone back to queuing up the Midas.
So I think DC's lineup is obviously kind of configured for team fighting and for pushing, but VGJ.Storm haven't really given DC any opportunities to begin pushing, right? They're VGJ.Storm are pretty much farming like all lanes of the map, which means that if DC ball out like 5 men like this, VGJ.Storm are always getting what they want. Like Snake King's pushing the bottom lane, Storm's pressuring the mid lane, and so DC they will probably get this top tier 1, but VGJ.Storm, they're getting closer to the items that they want.
So they've got the Wisp. Just kind of wondering, would there be any reason to, if it does go that long, take 1 Tether Grand Scepter bonus and attack tethered allies target? Because if you've got a Spark that's getting pretty fast, they might look pretty good. Take a look over mid. Bulba going to be taken out. They're diving in between the tier 2s and the tier 3s. Ritsu might have gone a little bit too far, but there's nobody else here to really get them locked in. So Ritsu going to be able to get out the long-range tether from Stand King all the way over to Flea. They might even just turn around onto this DC side. Qualifier very close to a Burrow Strike death there. It's 8-1 in favor of VGJ.Storm.
VGJ.Storm is starting to take a net worth lead about 3k, which isn't like huge, but it's a lot considering that DC, again, similar to last game, they wanted to pressure Ritsu, but Ritsu's like 3rd highest net worth. Storm is highest net worth, and DC actually have no mechanics to, or no, like not enough disables to stop both the Storm and Stark in these fights. And then you also have to deal with the relocate out, right? So whoever they initiate on is pretty much not going to die. And so in order for DC to win a team fight, they have to stun like multiple heroes at once. They have to catch probably the Wisp inside of the Ravage in order for these team fights to work a lot better for them. Now you were talking about the tether attacks, or attack tethered allies target. I think that works best with super fast attackers like Alchemist.
Slark could get there, you know. Enough attack speed on Slark. I've seen it before.
Huh? Not bad.
Unfortunately, this series is serious and not fun to see something like that.
And 150 GPM is a lot of GPM, especially for a hero like Io that doesn't normally get farm.
Yeah, that is a lot. That's late in the game too. Let's take a look. Relocate coming through, but nobody home. So that's relocate down for 2 minutes. Let's see if they send the Storm back. If there's going to be a tether, they'll just send
I think they're gonna. I think VGJ.Storm's highest priority kill right now is Bulba. Bulba's getting close to his blink, and I think if Bulba doesn't have that blink, then VGJ.Storm have a lot more breathing remote bottom lane.
Take a look over bottom. Demon in a lot of trouble. Gets the disruption out, but that doesn't really save anybody. And Ritsu gonna get yet another kill. Does go for that Midas. Very close to that Shadow Blade. Blinks are being queued up on both MSS and Bulba. But again, you're coming from behind with Blink Daggers. Sometimes when you just get Blinks, it's just not enough.
Well, the thing is, like, DC still win a team fight, I think. Like, at this point, like, if both teams went 5-on-5 against each other and DC landed all of their ultimates, I think they clearly win a team fight, right? But VGJ.Storm, they haven't given any opportunity for that at Bulba.
Epicenter charged up, Blink, Burrow Strike, and Bulba not dead, thanks to the pipe of MSS.
Like, VGJ.Storm, they're never gonna put themselves in a position where they're gonna get 5-man ravaged. And so, you know, that's why we see the Storm split pushing with the IO behind them. Stark's also getting quite a bit of farm. And they're just slowly going to outfarm DC because DC don't have the right heroes to counter this split push.
They were looking for snaking, but, you know, they've got a couple heroes chasing, making a little bit of space. All of a sudden, there's the bottom tier 2 gone for the side of DC. There's the Bloodstone and Shadowblade coming in at the same moment for VGJ.Storm. I feel like opportunities are brewing. They're going to be able to use that Shadowblade to relocate in, and it's actually going to be relocate over bottom behind MSS, behind Demon. There's the Ball Lightning over to Demon. The Darkness coming through. They're going to kill off this Shadow Demon first. Shadowblade is used. Crippling Fear going to silence up MSS. He's silenced no more. Has Ravage available, but there's nobody here with him. He really doesn't want to waste it. He knows he's pretty much dead. The pipe comes in with the Burrow Strike with a latch on from the Pounce. They'll get the kill. It's 2 dead for the side of DC. Easy for VGJ.Storm.
Not super easy. We saw them really switch gears there when they got their items right. Got Shadow Blade on Clark and the Bloodstone on Storm. So both of these heroes are online and they're like eager to fight now. DC have to be really careful with their positioning, and at the same time they have to sort of be in a position to defend Roche, because if Storm gets this first Aegis, I think it puts DC in a really bad position, because they're just going to continue losing in terms of net worth. And then with that Aegis, it puts VGJ.Storm in a position to perhaps take a tier 3 or even Rax.
So, 18 minutes into this game, 7,000 net worth lead for VGJ.Storm, up 11-1. Is there even a comeback win condition for the side of DC? And Demonic Purge with the Slithering Crush, Corrosive Haze, they'll get this easy kill on Flea. But that's just a kill on a roamer. It doesn't really mean all too much. I mean, they could go take this bottom tier 2 with Exorcism, maybe push for a tier 3, but they're kind of locked in that position that they were in the second game where they tried to counter push, and then they just had a Morphling take their base.
Yep, I mean, this is the same position. Rich is split pushing top, mid's also getting hit, and then, oh, Storm tried to cut the wave but wasn't successful.
So
DC actually
not exactly taking that top tier 3 too quickly. There's the epicenter. Burrows right comes out on 2. Mason gonna get a little bit low. He's trying to get that Slithering Crush onto the Ball Lightning Ryoya to get the kill on the Demon. Exorcism still hitting away at this tower. They haven't taken that tier 3 just yet. It finally drops over top. We'll see if the relocate comes out, but it's Wisp who's too low on mana to really get it, so they're trading racks. They might even just try to TP back.
Wisp can stick to get the relocate.
Blink, Slithering Crush, Stand King in a bit of trouble over top. And now the Eclipse comes through. Koifu's going to drop off screen. Ritsu trying to get the kill on Mason. It was a relocate out from the Wisp. He's coming back in just a moment. There's the Lucid Beam, but it's not going to save him as Ritsu now dominating. In comes Stand King. Meanwhile, they're going to take out MSS over bottom. And back to it. Back to the grind is Ritsu and Stand King. We'll take this set of racks, so it's even out. Safe lane racks a piece, top and bottom.
Well, obviously not a... Oh, geez.
Olba. Not dead just yet. There's the disruption, but now he's gone. Ritsu with another kill. Mega kill streak for this Slark. And there it goes.
It's not ideal that VGJ.Storm lost the racks there, and you think, like, hey, why would they even lose the racks? They have Aegis and they're like 12k net worth ahead, but obviously VGJ.Storm, they respected the team fight from DC in the bottom lane. I think it's still really hard for VGJ.Storm to fight when DC are balled up like that and when they have their pipe active, right? Actually, they didn't have Aegis. Must be on something right now. But anyway, they're taking Roche now. They trade 1 racks for 1 racks, and honestly, it's still pretty good for VGJ.Storm because they have more split pushes, right? So there's only 2 lanes that they have to worry about now.
And kind of I'd say it's maybe a silver lining for DC is they didn't use Ravage. So if a fight comes out,
they used Exorcism and Eclipse, so they still can't really fight.
Well, Exorcism up in 12, Eclipse up in 40. Bulba looking for the Blink Slithering Crush. Might have been able to lock him up for a long enough time with the Slithering Crush Ravage. But now you've got the Aegis on Ryoya.
So the problem for DC is their lineup's super cooldown dependent right now. Exorcism, Ravage, Eclipse, and then when you have a Bloodstone Storm with a IO relocate, it makes it really difficult to kill the Storm twice and potentially 3 times in a row. So I think this puts VGJ.Storm in a position where they want to take the fight now.
Let's see if DC can catch anybody. Flee nearby. Ooh, Void's going to come through. That's actually going to stop the Slithering Crush from landing, but he's silenced up and ready to blink in 5 seconds. Hunter in the Night goes towards the mountains and turns back as he take a look over top. I think it was a relocate in. They're going to try and kill off Demon. They've already killed off Mason. The pipe is there, and now they start to work onto the Sand King. Ravage comes out, hits 3 people. They'll take out the Wisp. They look for more. Burrow Strike by Snake King, not going to keep him alive. You've got Ritsu here with Flea, with Ryoya, and now they've taken out 3 of these heroes. They're looking for more, but Koifa with the Spirit Siphon starting to work on Ritsu. He's going to get the kill. He doesn't have the Aegis. Silenced up is going to be this Death Prophet, and now you look at Ryoya, who's going to ball lightning over to Bulba, but he's going to be stunned up. They'll take out the Aegis. So now they're looking for more. If he could get another Slithering Crush in, that would be nice, but the buyback's there from the Sand King to get the kill on Bulba. It ends up being a 4 for 3 with a buyback from the Sand King, and they might just get themselves another one, but the Silence is going to keep this Death Prophet alive for just a moment. Darkness is going to be used. They're going to try and get the Void to line up the stuns. There it is. They'll get the kill. It ends up being a full team wipe over time, but still they lost Ritsu, and they no longer have the Aegis.
Yeah, arguably a really good fight for DC, and if you look at the fight recap, they actually are ahead in gold, but it might not be enough, because now all of the big cooldowns on DC are expended, with the exception of Eclipse, but this actually puts VGJ.Storm in a position to high ground if they choose to. They can also take out the Shrines, but that Exorcism's down for about 80 seconds, so is the Ravage, so VGJ.Storm can do pretty much whatever they want at the moment.
Yeah, Mason just not involved really in these fights, as I think the relocate came in and he got cleaned up pretty easily.
I think well, MSS might be in trouble here. Silver Edge for the Kraken Shell.
And there's the Silence, very low and very dead he is. Epicenter? I think it was started but not finished, and they'll get the second kill. There's the Eclipse going to be used. They'll get at least one with the Wisp. It's a triple kill for Ritsu right now. Let's keep an eye on Ritsu. He's still trying to go back in. Look for the Ultra kill. It actually goes to Ryoya. 4 dead. Buybacks coming aplenty from DC. And VGJ.Storm, they forced out the buybacks, and they'll just retreat. They know without the big cooldowns, or GG. Oh, okay. Pretty anticlimactic there.
Yeah, anticlimactic. I think similar to last game, right? Like VGJ.Storm, they picked, I believe they picked the better scaling heroes, and then DC didn't get enough out of the laning phase with their aggressive tri-lanes to really put their Luna. Actually, they have the same core as Luna and Death Prophet. Like, those 2 heroes never got in a position to really play their game. Like, those 2 heroes kind of rely on taking early towers, but they were never in a position to do so.
Yeah, DC, only 6 kills. I feel like they could have held on right there. With Ravage coming off cooldown soon, Exorcism as well. You know, I understand that Mason's a little bit under farm, but you just saw over top what they could do when they land the big time ultis, but they just GG out like that. It's interesting, but you know, an anticlimactic end doesn't take away from the fact that VGJ.Storm, they come back from down 1-0. And they're going to MDL Macau, and they've qualified for the NA region. So congratulations to them. 2 games in a row, played pretty clean and pretty well. DC, I don't know, they went with a similar draft to game 2, and then it kind of fell off again, and they GG out pretty early. So that's going to be it here today from me and Franz. We'll be back again, hopefully soon. That's the end of the MDL Macau NA qualifier with VGJ.Storm qualifying. To know when we're casting next, follow us on Twitter at bcop92 on Twitter. For myself and for Franz at HelloFranz. And thank you guys for watching. It's been fun, been interesting for sure. And again, congratulations to VGJ.Storm. You guys are going to Macau. So thank you guys for watching. A little bit of music, and then the stream will go down, and you'll be able to watch Complexity soon, I think, on the main channel.